Jenny, let's talk about your background and how you got started with the bar and what inspired that.
I was born and raised here in Portland, and so yeah, I'm just a Pacific Northwest kid. But I played basketball since I was about 5. I tried playing other sports like volleyball, track and field, soccer, but nothing ever stuck. So basketball was kind of like my thing. And then I continued to play it through high school, and it became a really big part of my identity. It was kind of how I saw myself in the world. And when I was 19, I was 2 weeks away from my very first college game and I blew out my ACL. And that really was devastating for me. And it kind of was a turning point in my life in that I felt like everything that I was and who I was like had crumbled and I didn't know my place in the world. So I moved up to Bellingham and went to college. And I was on a meal plan, ate at the cafeteria, and the food was terrible. It was like really bad. And so I started to like get homesick, but the homesick was for food. So I remember calling my mom and being like, Mom, can you just email me some recipes of the food that you made at home? And she was just like, What? Because I literally had zero interest in cooking before I went to college. None. My mom had made all my meals growing up, and we ate dinner at the dining room table every night together as a family. And so I started to cook in college, and then I realized that I had really only felt myself when I was either playing basketball on the court or when I was in a kitchen. And, I had enrolled into college pre-med because my parents wanted me to be a doctor and I didn't have any other plans for myself. So I was like, I don't care. And so by the end of my sophomore year, I called them on the phone from college and I was like, I, I think I want to be a chef. So the sports bra had been a running joke in my friend group for years as this make-believe fantasy land that we would bring up every once in a while whenever we were like disenfranchised by traditional sports bars, which was constantly, I never thought about it seriously. And then I was just like, how would a place like the sports bra, if it was a real thing, how would that make any difference to anyone in on the planet that we have with all of these issues? So anyway, I thought about how, it might be good, at least for Portland. I grew up here. I have always witnessed Portland being so supportive of women's sports. And if it didn't work in Portland, I didn't believe it would work anywhere. So I started to really mull over the idea a lot more. And I got to the point where I was just like waking up thinking about it, going to bed thinking about it, dreaming about what I would have on the walls, dreaming about what would be on the menu. And I was just like, oh my God, okay, I'm either going to do this or I'm not going to do this. And it just got to that point where you come to that fork in the road and you have to choose. And then one day we were sitting around having dinner, and this woman that I was dating, we had been dating for 12 years and we met playing basketball 14 years ago. And we were talking about how if we, if our parents took us to a place like the sports bra as children, if we went into a space like the sports bra, how much of an impact that would have had on our lives to go into a space that felt like we belonged. And I don't know if there's ever been a space that I've been that has felt that way. And so when I thought about a little girl or even a little boy coming in and seeing women playing sports on TV and how that could like normalize women's sports and like feel like, people always say representation matters and seeing is believing. Thinking about the young Jenny, I decided right then that I was going to do it. Everything in my life has kind of led me to this point and has given me like the lived experience to make the sports bra what it is.